So welcome back, everyone, to Pass It On. Pass It On is Winnow's platform for chefs and hospitality leaders around the world to share real stories, insights, and actions they're taking to tackle food waste. In this episode, we're joined by Chef Jonathan Keane, executive chef at the Lodge at Ashford Castle in Ireland. I know you've had really incredible results in reducing food waste with a whopping 90% reduction in trimmings and 58% reduction in total food waste. So really incredible results, and I'm really excited to have you here today to dive in exactly how you achieve these and hopefully inspire others to follow in your footsteps. Yes, thanks for joining today.
Delighted to be here, Hannah.
The first question I wanted to ask is, can you take me along your culinary journey and what inspired you to become a chef?
Sure, yeah. I suppose, it's over 30 years ago now. I became a chef really because I got a job in the local pub and shop when on my 15th birthday. And part of the job was stacking shelves in the shop, but another part was washing the big pots and pans for the chefs in the restaurant. And I suppose I was just drawn into that life, the hustle bustle, the chaotic side of it. It seemed to me a terribly glamorous lifestyle, even though that part wore off fairly quickly. But
Yeah.
and I was just drawn to it, and even as a child, I had liked cooking and stuff, So it was just a thing to do, I was still in school, obviously, at that time, but didn't really like school. And I liked working, so that's kind of the path I took. And then I just started off kind of working the circuit, along the west coast of Ireland, which some of the listeners would know is a very, very remote place, and the towns and villages are small and stuff, so you just kind of work your way up. And then went to catering college, did quite well in that, and just kind of chose it as my path in life, and I suppose ever since everything has been food, food, food.
Yeah, I feel like if you're instantly drawn to it, like it's kind of addictive, and
Yeah.
like once you're hooked, like it's really hard to kind of escape and get out of it. But where was the first? You said it was a local shop. Where was that in Ireland that you first went?
In a place called Letterfrack in the west of Ireland, yeah. So, the very, very
Yeah.
small village, but in the very touristy area. So in the summer we've been very, very busy. Um, we were making, chowders, seafood pies, local lamb, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that would have been in the mid 90s. So sustainability, I don't think anybody even knew what sustainability was. They didn't even know the word then, and it was just, it's interesting as a path, as your chef, as my life as a chef has gone on, how different things have become interesting to me. So, like back then, you wouldn't have cared where your butter came from, where the crab. If a customer asked where did the crab come from, you'd all be running around the kitchen trying to get an answer. Um, whereas now it's like where everything comes from. Like at my wedding, the salt maker was there, the butter maker was there, the butcher was there. So I was like,
Really?
all my friends are in food. So now it's a thing. Provenance and sense of place is a thing. And it's been an interesting journey, really, as a chef in Ireland. Me and my colleagues and my peers used to always joke that, like, the west of Ireland is 10 years behind Dublin. Dublin's 10 years behind London, and London's 10 years behind New York. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
and that's what we did for many years. We copied and pasted, and we were trying to do stuff that wasn't really us. Like, um, I remember when I was a young chef, I had the Michelin inspector in, and he was like, "Why are you trying to kill me with a 15-course tasting menu? I've been to all the cities, I've done all
Or
So I
something
suppose,
different.
yeah, looking back on it now, it's a sense of place and where you're from, what you are, what you're good at, that kind of thing. As anyone that's been to the west of Ireland will know, it's a very beautiful part of the world. And, I grew up on a sheep farm. So I grew my own potatoes when I was a kid and all that kind of stuff. We butchered our own meat, all that kind of stuff. So I suppose I've always been in tune with nature. Um,
Yeah.
but I won't come on here and say that ever since the mid '90s I've been madly into sustainability because that just wouldn't be a thing back
Not
then,
true.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well, so
sustainability has kind of come
I'm
along,
curious, when did that first come into your like vocabulary, or when did you first hear about it?
About 15 years ago, really,
Yeah,
because part as my chef journey kind of took me. So part of what I do as a chef is I'm a forager, so I use a lot of wild food, and I go to the seaside to get my sea vegetables, seaweeds. I go to the forest to get mushrooms, stuff like that. So I've always kind of been in touch with nature. And I would never have been a fan of food waste, but these things would not have been under a sustainability umbrella. They would have been just, I suppose, a best practice umbrella,
yeah,
Um, but then I suppose through my work with foraging and stuff, really, it opened my eyes to a lot about the nature and I suppose really what's gone wrong with nature. And, so I
uh,
looked at sustainability. I'm not doing anything that anybody else isn't doing now, but I suppose it came on my radar maybe a little bit earlier
quite
than others.
early. Yeah, like 15
Yeah,
years ago, pretty
yeah.
early.
And now I think when we're all, retired, we'll be looking back at what was the big thing of our generation, and it'll be sustainability will be it.
Yeah,
I think there has to be a change, and there is a willingness to a change, but the resistance to change is fierce because for all the obvious reasons of money, efficiency, all kind of things. So. Um, and I suppose that brings me on to a couple of years ago when we decided to get Winnow. Um,
definitely.
and like it's kind of a funny one for me because I would always been a chef that checked the bins and made sure there wasn't any too much waste happening there. But Winnow was a new thing, and like all new things that come in, there's initially a bit of resistance to it. Oh, we're doing that
Mhm.
already. What's it going to tell us that we don't already know? This kind of thing, you know. Um, so when Winnow came in, I would say the first 6 months of Winnow was gobbling up lots of low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
We were learning, there was too many rashers getting cooked in the morning. There was, you know, what I would say obvious stuff, that every kitchen should really be on top of, but probably aren't. Um, so quite quickly we changed that. That was just really through reworking stuff. But we didn't delve too deeply into the system until I suppose a couple of years ago when I was looking at the reports and I got more into the reporting side of Winnow. Um,
Yeah.
I had the emails come in every day. I had the photos. I had it telling me what was happening, but I wanted it to be a little bit more impactful because, um, and then I sat on a masterclass with Wojciech a couple of years ago, and he was introducing us to some recipes, um, and some of it was great. But I was trying to say, how does this translate to here? Because we're such a busy operation. Like the lodge could do anything up to
Yeah.
400 meals a day, um, and I wanted to make it impactful, rather
Mhm.
than just tokenism or whatever. Um, so when I looked at the nitty gritty of the waste, I found that there was two main culprits. Well, three main culprits. One is plate waste, which is a culprit, which is for anyone, I'm sure everyone knows, anyways, but is the waste that comes back in after the plate has been in the dining room.
Yeah.
This isn't one
Difficult.
I'm going to focus on this year because I believe this is the trickiest one, um,
Yeah.
because you have to be generous with your customers and all the other reasons for why you need to kind of do this. So that's a tougher nut. But I suppose culprit number two and number three were veg trimmings and fruit trimmings.
Mhm.
And between those two things, we had well over a ton food waste a year just by veg
Mhm.
trimmings and fruit trimmings. And when I say fruit trimmings, I mean primarily the fruit salad, the
Yeah.
fruit salad we make for breakfast, the classic fruit salad. So all of those pineapple skins, all orange peels, everything was going in the bin really because nobody had a use for it. Um, so that's what I did. I just came up with a few. I didn't come up with this great big radical approach to the kitchen that we got to be, every single recipe has got to be completely zero food waste. That's not really going to work in a big place because you've got all these customers coming at you. I wanted to do something kind of, I suppose, sustainable in not just for the environment, but sustainable for the chefs to achieve as well. Um,
Yeah.
so I said less recipes, but more impactful recipes, and that was so. I just came up with two or three recipes. Really,
Yeah.
and it's
I
different now.
really love your recipes. Whenever we've spoken a few times and you've sent them across, and I'm always really inspired by them. Especially with your focus on trimming waste. Like as you say, like you said, it was over a ton a year.
Yeah,
And I think when you're throwing away the waste little by little, you don't see how much it is.
yeah,
But like, when you really add it up over a whole year, like a ton, like as you said, is huge to think
yeah.
about. Just
But if,
from your one
yeah,
big
but if
chunk.
every kitchen saved a ton, it's job done,
Yeah.
really. But I suppose these recipes, it's grown a bit since then. So these recipes that I've kind of become known for now, would be the core of it because they'd be the large savings, but they've sprang into loads of different recipes as well. It's got us thinking, really. I suppose the
Yeah.
main thing Winnow has done is got us thinking, you know, that go with the veg peels. What I've done is I just make a vegetable treacle, that I call
Hmm.
it, which basically is just I make a stock out of all the trimmings, reduce it down, you know, caramelize it with honey or sugar until it becomes this molasses type. And then some of that goes into my brown bread, but the rest of it goes into a short rib sauce. Um,
Yeah.
and a couple of years ago, that was it, and that was the story. But I've kind of changed that now. So now that the sauce I use with the short rib of beef, which is essentially made from the tree, it's a barbecue sauce, which is made with treacle, but there's also coffee in it. So I was like, well, if I'm using coffee, I might as well.
There's coffee as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
like the
So
grounds or
yeah. So I'm using now the spent grounds of coffee.
yeah.
Um, so the sauce really has three things in it: spent coffee grounds, uh, the food waste treacle, and tomato ketchup. So the tomato ketchup we make ourselves, so it's like a byproduct ketchup. So we
Mm.
keep all our tomato seeds, our skins, everything. Fresh herbs, we keep the stalks. So everything is a byproduct. So the whole dish is.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be. We go to all this trouble of making the treacle, and then we kind of lessen the dish by putting stuff in it that isn't along the same story. So that's where
Yeah.
the spent coffee came from. That's where I came up with an easy enough recipe for a byproduct ketchup. And it's opened up all these different little offshoots of the main recipes. Um, so like I look around the kitchen now every day and we really don't have food waste. Apart from
Amazing.
the plate waste, apart from, the odd time there'll be a cooking error or something like that, but we really don't have it. So it's a great story. Like I know of certain restaurants that will be quite well known for their zero waste approach and everything, but it's for me, it's really good to do it in a larger property, um,
Mhm.
because it's more impactful on the environment. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, so that's why the approach I decided to make it two key recipes and build on that rather than, trying to double and triple the chef's workloads with hundreds of recipes. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the way it's kind of grown. And now we've grown the kitchen that way. Um, we don't have
That's
single-use
brilliant.
plastics.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, because we don't use cling film. Every kitchen uses loads of cling film. When I decided to drop cling film, I thought about it for years. And it's like, how am I going to get away without not using cling film? Because
What
it's
what
on.
did you do then? What was your
I just bit
what
the
did you
bullet.
try?
I just bit the bullet and stopped buying it.
Yeah.
And the world didn't end. I think the chefs weren't too happy with me for a while, but you know, we just
It's
got on with it.
definitely empowering to just grab the cling film and like wrap something up quickly
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah,
So
we
it
u-
sounds
we u- we
great there.
reduced this, yeah, because we've lots of weddings, you see, so we reduced it,
And then,
and we only bought it for wrapping up the fillets, the beef fillets for the weddings, um, but everybody was using it for everything else, even though it was supposed to be only for the beef fillets. So in the end, I just said no, and every chef on my team came to me, this is not going to work. Um, every one of my peers in the group that I work for, all the other head chefs said, this is not going to work. You need cling film. So I just made the decision to stop. Um,
mm,
and nobody complained that because the steaks weren't shaped a certain way with the cling film or anything. You know, a lot of us using these products it's just because it's easy and
Like
we don't.
aesthetic, maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's
Yeah,
habit and it's easy, and this is the way we've always done it. Because when we learned
definitely.
all these things years ago, nobody knew about plastic being such a big problem for the environment and stuff, you know? Um, so now it's kind of just giving it a little bit of thought. But we're definitely not reinventing any wheels or anything like that. It's just, I suppose, changing the way we look at food waste, you know? So it's been fun, you know?
Definitely. Your results are incredible. It just shows like how impactful you can be. I really love as well that you're focused, like you said, the low hanging fruits. Like you just with these two recipes, you're able to make such a big impact straight away. And thanks for sharing those recipes. I
Yeah.
know you also entered them into our recipe challenge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wish you the best of luck in that challenge.
Thanks. You know,
um,
and I suppose I'm trying to do it so it's not overwhelming for chefs. A lot of chefs, I assume, because I was a little bit like, oh, you know, Winnow's coming now. It's going to highlight all this food waste, but it's going to make us look bad, or it's going to triple our workload, or we're going to, not really, you know, because
yeah,
like, so our short rib beef, so we'd sell about 250 short rib of beef every week. Like, that's replaced a different dish, like, you know, so
exactly.
it's not extra work, you know. So it just takes that little initial bit of thought about how am I going to do this
Still
in practice.
thinking.
Yeah, and once you're open to that, like, once you're open minded to the project, pretty quick you can get results, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing. I feel like we've gone through your whole story, to be honest, in one one question. But I actually had quite a few questions for you. The next one's quite a fun one. If you could have one final meal, what would it be?
Um, ooh, um, I think being a boy from the west of Ireland, you'd have to have new potatoes. So when I grew
Okay.
up in the 80s,
Yeah.
shall we say, um, there was every garden. So all my neighbours would all have had what we called ridges out the back. We were growing vegetables like in the 80s in the west of Ireland, there was no money, you know.
Yeah.
You were self-sufficient or you didn't have stuff. That was the way it was. But all through my journey as a chef, and as I learned to do all these different fancy French potato dishes and everything, for the couple of, say, the 2 months in the summer that we have new potatoes, every other potato dish ceases to exist for me.
Very good.
And a new potato just straight out of the ground, Irish butter, sea salt, that's it. So
Brilliant.
I'm not sure what fish or meat I'd have, but there'd definitely be new potatoes. You know, and it's just nature. And when nature is like my cooking has a lot to do with nature, and I don't like adding too much stuff to it, really,
Mm,
because it is the way God intended it to be, you know. So it's like I don't like
right.
messing around with it too much. Um, and that's it, you know. I suppose I'd have to have my dad's lamb, with the thing. Like we grew up on a sheep farm, so you know we always had lamb, and yeah, lamb and new potatoes and some some cabbage from the garden or something, you know. Um, I'm sorry, my answer isn't a bit
No, I
more
like it.
glamorous.
People go different ways for this. If you've gone the more like nostalgic route, which I really
Yeah,
like. But yeah, I don't really eat too many new potatoes.
yeah,
Maybe I just get them fresh from the ground, and
yeah. Like
just
you
boil them or
pull
just
them
boil
what.
them like salty water.
Just boil them, yeah. Like because we have the garden now, and we'll get them.
Yeah,
And you know, it's just there's a sense of place about it, really, which is kind of big with me now. You know, I'm not into. When I grew up in the 80s, a lot of the restaurants, they would have had these big, gigantic menus, and there would have been
yeah.
pizza, curry, uh,
One.
something for everything, and nothing done properly. And now it's just like, why? You know, why would you do that? You know, if I want a pizza, go to Italy. Or if you want curry, go to India.
Can't have
Yeah,
everything. You
yeah,
need
yeah.
what's local to you, and
Yeah,
that's what is
something that
the best.
suits your area, and
Yeah,
then reduce food miles in the process. So a
definitely.
simple
That's a
approach to
great
food,
one.
really.
And you said about the Irish butter. Do you make your own butter, or is that something
Yeah,
that you buy?
sometimes. So, like, we'd have a lot. Like, my cooking is butter, butter, butter everywhere. So it's, we do
Classic.
a lot of butter. Um, well, Irish butter is good anyways, but we'd have a lot of local artisan butters,
Yeah.
but I make my own butter on occasion, and it's another good food waste story, that we use everything. But and I make a lot of flavored butters for the restaurant too. Sometimes I put bone marrow in, so we make all our stocks here. So I'll take the marrow out of the bones, uh, use the bones obviously for our sauces and stuff, and use the marrow then. We just roast off a few shallots, put in some roasted bone marrow and whip it up in butter. And it gives you a real kind of, I suppose, powerful, unctuous butter. And then our bread, our sourdough bread
Yeah,
is four ingredients in the bread. And that's, there's less is more sometimes.
definitely. I love sourdough and bread, or any bread and butter. That's one of my favorite things to eat.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. But yeah,
And in
what
Ireland,
can you say about the butter recipe? It's like a zero waste, like with the whey. Is there something that you do with the whey, like when you make
yeah,
butter? Or
yeah, well, when you're making butter, like it's really what you're doing is whipping cream, whipping cream, whipping cream,
yeah,
and it'll separate. But then we'll use the buttermilk. So we have a dish here that is, you might know it now, but it's Cali. It's a traditional potato dish, potato and onions.
yeah,
It'd be, I suppose, like a champ or a Colcannon, but we call it Cali in Ireland. But I use buttermilk for that, and the sourness of the buttermilk goes through. But so you use everything really. You don't be throwing
yeah,
anything in the thing. Again, it's just being clever with that. When you're a lot of chefs when they come to prepare and they have their bowl for their waste.
yeah.
There's so much thought gone into the what they're doing, but there's no thought to what's going into the bowl. So it's just a mindset change, really. Um,
It is funny. It is a
yeah,
mindset, John.
and all the flavor that's gone into this bowl that's going to end up really in landfill eventually. You know, um,
Mhm.
so a lot of people will be like, "Oh, we can't afford to go down the sustainability route," but when you really think about it, you're saving money.
Yeah,
Uh, so it's just like you have to give it a lot of thought, and it is a big journey. And there is all sorts of things in any change in life. But I'd really be of the opinion that anyone, any chef, or not just chef, anybody, um, instead of trying to, somebody like me standing on the pulpit saying you must do this and you must do that, just a little bit, like so, like
mhm.
there's no point in me saying to a family that has six kids, um, only buy organic chicken, because they're not going to be able to afford to do that, and
Yeah,
that's never going to happen, But if I could say to you, say you're doing your Christmas shopping, buy one of the things in your basket from a local producer.
yeah.
It's very little impact on what you're trying to do, but it has a huge impact for the producer. So I say if everybody does a little bit, nobody has to do a lot. You know.
I like that saying. Yeah, because I think if you're trying to change everything by yourself, it will be obviously so overwhelming.
Yeah,
But
and
just
people
do
just won't do it.
your bit. Yes, thank you for that. And then the next question is, was there a particular moment that made you rethink how food waste is managed?
I don't know if there was any light bulb moment. Like it would have been a gradual change. Like the sheer volume. There's a combination of things, like the amount of money we have to pay for this food waste to be
Yeah,
taken away. But you see things. You see things when you're out foraging, and you see things in the environment.
yeah,
Like I would have a different reaction if I'm out in the woods getting mushrooms now, and I find, say, a plastic shopping bag or litter or something.
yeah,
That would make me nauseous now, but whereas I don't know if I would have even saw that 20 years ago, you
yeah,
know? So you change, and then, it's all little things. Everybody notices, everybody is commenting on the weather changing, and, you know,
yeah.
we all agree that that's kind of, global warming that's affecting that. Um, I wouldn't say for me it's been any one big major thing, but a combination of things starting to make sense about, look, this planet is changing because of what we're doing to it. Uh,
Definitely.
yeah. So it's just, for me, it's again, like, yeah, you can't get overwhelmed by the gravity of the task, you know. And you see the political leaders all going to COP and they say they'll do this and that, and then inevitably they miss their targets. Because the targets, one person
Yeah,
might commit to it and the other person is saying yes, but knows it's not going to happen, you know. So I say start small and just kind of gradually change things, you know.
definitely. I do think your foraging must help a lot. Like I know
Yeah,
when I've done foraging, it really puts it into perspective, like how kind of beautiful the food is and like
yeah.
how much you have to take care of it and you just don't want to waste any of it. Yeah, like you're saying, there's loads of different
Yeah, and it all
reasons.
lines up. It all lines up for me. And you take so if you take five of your chefs out to the seaside to get seaweed or whatever, they're learning about food. They're learning about nature. They're learning to respect the product. But there's another reason for bringing them out. It's camaraderie. It's getting some
Yeah.
air into their heads. It's getting sustainability in human beings as well as in the planet. So it's
Oh,
all
another important point. Yeah. And like a
yeah
chef's sustainability, like
yeah.
mind as well.
Like the change is the rat race of life, and life has become so fast,
Yeah.
you know. And now you can't. Sometimes you're looking at something on Facebook, and you don't know if you're speaking to or looking at a human being, or, you know. It's all
I
just
know the
yeah. It's
feeling.
so life is fast, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but we gotta one of the generations is going to have to stand up and say we got to be careful here,
Mhm.
because we're on a rocky road and we're kind of sometimes you feel like you're freewheeling down a hill and you've no brakes and where's it all going to end, Um, like, I'm incredibly lucky. So I'm a chef 30 something years now.
Mhm.
And it's been great for me, and I've worked with great produce from the west of Ireland, But I'd like that project. I'd like my grandkids to see that produce,
Definitely.
and it's just, I suppose, as you get a bit older, it starts to matter a bit more,
Definitely. We're the generation to make the change.
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely. Because as I
Um,
say, like if I said it to my parents, like they wouldn't understand what the hell I'm on about because what you're inviting your salt maker to your wedding? Are you nuts? Yeah.
Your
Uh,
wedding must have been amazing though. Like the food as well. It must have been incredible
but it
food.
was, yeah. But I really have to sympathize with the chefs that work for me because I had it in the lodge, you see. So,
I'm
um,
really
yeah.
so they
So I was kind of dipping in and out. I wasn't supposed to be working, of course. Uh,
even on your wedding day, you're in charge.
Yeah, checking this, checking that. But yeah, it was lovely. And we had lamb, lovely
Yeah.
lamb when I'm here. But look at the lodge. I have an advantage where I work. There's no doubt. And
Definitely.
because I work in, the middle of this big woodland estate, like, it's spectacular, the nature and everything, the flora, the fauna. So I have an advantage. So, when you're going into work, you're inspired already when it's so easy, Um,
Yeah.
but I have to say, like, when in terms of food waste, the big focus this year for me is to look at plate waste and have good discussion about that. And with plate
Definitely.
waste, maybe there has to be hard decisions on portion size and stuff like that, to dig
Yeah.
into that because that's where in the lodge, anyways, that's where we're at because the other waste is pretty much gone.
Yeah. You have none of the other ways. I think it's easier to tackle in like buffet environments.
Yeah.
Like that's where a lot of plate waste happens. And you can do like signage, different plate sizes, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But we
but
really
it's
do
a
buffet,
journey.
right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
journey because the mindset of the customer will be to fill their plate, um, and then they mightn't eat it. So, like, a lot of it is down to the portion size, like the size
Oh,
of the croissant you use. So, like,
yeah.
we're switching this year, because I used to use lots of little mini pastries for breakfast. I'm switching to the large ones now in the hope that the guest will take one large one and finish it.
You hope.
Yeah, eat two
Yeah.
of them. You
I feel
try
like
them.
yeah, I've also heard the other way where people make the pastry smaller so that they finish them.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But then it could also work the other way if
yeah, because
um
I think
if
psychologically,
it's
if you
small.
if you make them too small, the guests will take one of everything, and you'll
Yeah,
be
that's also
yeah,
true. Like I
yeah.
haven't, or like take one of everything, then take one bite.
Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, so I don't know
yeah,
is the answer,
interesting.
but I'm gonna work on it this year,
Yeah,
because I'd like to get that plate weight, even though I've reduced my waste by nearly 50%. Like it's really, I think it's a little bit more than 50%.
came over
Yeah,
58%. Yeah,
yeah. So pretty much what's left there, the 42 that's left, is plate waste.
plate waste.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it is the biggest thing,
that's
you know.
one. I'll have to check in again with you in
Yeah,
next
like,
year.
and I'll try to
This
do
is
things,
last
you know,
time.
but, um, and I've given it a hell of a lot of thought. Like, is it a case that on your menu, instead of offering a 200-gram fillet steak, you offer three different sizes at three different points or something?
Yeah,
I don't know, like, we just need to, it's like the rest of the journey. We just need to be open-minded with it, you know?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Great to hear. And then the next question is, what are your ingredients for success? What made you get to executive chef, have such a successful career, and such amazing results in reducing food waste? What do you think got you there?
Yeah, I suppose with my career, a large part of it would be drive and stubbornness. Some of my colleagues would definitely say stubbornness.
Yeah.
But I'm hugely driven. I'm ambitious. And I like things to be done properly if possible. Um, with food waste, then it's been a growing journey for me, that it's the natural order of things for chef that grew up on a farm, grew up in a beautiful area of the world, became a forager. The natural order is that you would care about the environment and gardening and that kind of stuff.
Mm,
But really, like, it's not just a case of you become these things overnight. I've worked the circuit. I've worked hard. You got to work hard. You got to try and stay positive. Um,
yeah,
and you got to be kind of grateful of the things that you have because, um,
definitely.
yeah, because life is difficult, and
It's
working
true.
in hospitality is not easy because it's everybody's coming at you and they want, and we're in the art of our hospitality, which is making people
Yeah,
happy, so.
people
It,
please one.
yeah, by going into that career, like you
Mhm.
are putting yourself in a position that you now have a job to please a lot of people and try and keep everybody happy. So you need to be quite open minded as well. Um, and that I'd
Mm,
say with the whole Winnow thing, open mindedness, particularly at the beginning, because when you see the
yeah,
results happening, um, it's multifaceted. Like, our accountants are happy now that we have this approach because we have a better profit because we're less stuff going in the bin. Um,
yeah,
it's just be open minded at the start, and start making a few small changes, and things will just happen.
yeah. I think you're right. Like, make the small changes every day, and then after some time, like, wow, this is really added up, and see the results.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'll become logical in your head, like, whereas in the beginning it's like, no, this is the way we've always done this, like, it doesn't mean that it's like me with the cling film. I was like a long time trying to think of a substitute, or, there are
yeah.
substitutes out there, but they're 10 times the price. And, really the decision was there all along. Just do it, you know?
Just do it.
Yeah, yeah. And we did it and
Yes, as
it
well.
worked.
Definitely. And I like this about staying positive. I think as a chef, like that's so important, and hospitality. Like, what do you
Yeah.
do to kind of stay positive when things get tough? Or
You need to be honest with your team, and you need to lead from the front and not panic. And, you know,
yeah,
um, honesty really is the thing, if you're in it with your team are going to be in it with you, um,
yeah,
but for me, it's like it's easy to be positive when you have a lot of things going for you, and I have a lot of things going for me, and that, like, I have access to a spectacular garden. I'm in a great part of the world. But it doesn't mean that I'm always positive. Like, we all have
yeah,
difficult days and everything. But it's to try and come across to your team as a leader, in things, and somebody that they might want to follow. Um, and it's very important. Like, I'm the one on the call here today, but it's the team that are doing it.
yeah,
It's not me. Like, I'm the team leader, but it really is the team that are doing the work. And it really needs to be about
Amazing.
team, and the team need to see that it's about team and not about one
Yeah,
individual, you know?
it's true. I should be interviewing all of them.
Yeah. I hope,
Putting them in the spotlight too.
yeah. Well, they might have some issues about the cling film, but apart from
The truth will come out.
yeah.
No, thanks for that. And then it's kind of similar, but what's the best piece of advice you've ever received and who shared it with you?
Oh, I suppose as a chef, best advice is less is more. Keep it
Yeah.
because like in my journey, my food now would be quite pared back, quite about nature, about seasonality and stuff. But it wasn't always the case. Like in my 20s,
Mhm.
um, that ambition piece that I kind of have and I try to manage daily, um, it's in my 20s. I had a lamb dish on in the restaurant that had 17 garnishes on it. Um, and, trying to pull
You're
that off.
explaining that out.
Yeah, you know me. And yeah, and you're like, uh,
That's
ambition and positivity and all these things. Um, they all are like you need to be hardworking, you need to be positive, but you need to keep things doable as well, and you need to be realistic. And I think that my change in my cooking played a huge role in how I approached Winnow. And I said, let's do two or three big recipes and see what happens and see how
yeah,
it. Um, because it can be quite overwhelming if you try and perfect everything. You're going to end up not perfecting anything.
at
Um,
once.
yeah, and then the desire then, or the I suppose the instinct will be just to give up because things aren't working. So
Yeah,
instead of that, just do what you can do, and do it right, and then
yeah,
just build on it.
definitely. Yeah, this advice is literally what you've done with food waste, like less is more. You said you
Yeah,
focused on the
yeah, it's,
recipes.
yeah. It's like the food, like as I say, I wasn't
Yeah,
always that way. And I suppose like every chef has ambition and a bit of ego and they want to be the best and everything, but um there's a time when you're good enough and you're doing the right thing. If you can look at yourself in the mirror, and you're doing your bit, and that
yeah,
should be enough then. And I suppose with that then becomes contentment, and through that you become a better leader because it stops being about yourself and what you
yeah,
want to gain and stuff. You know, so that's kind of where I'm
definitely.
at in my head now.
I like that. And who was it that shared that with you, or is it just something you kind of learnt yourself?
Um, Listen, with many chefs, like there'd be many
Yeah,
chefs that would have been saying that to me, like, there's good chefs that I grew up with. They might be household names, but they'd be like when I was starting out, like I grew up and we had a very well known chef in Rinvale House. So he was the chef around Connemara because
yeah,
Connemara is a very small place. And he would have mentored us all. I never actually worked in his hotel, but he would have mentored us. We would have looked up to him, and he was like, just keep it manageable and stuff.
yeah,
Um, and there'd be other people. I'd have friends and mentors in the industry, um, that I'd be bouncing things off on a regular basis. And you just kind of, if you're doing things long enough, things start becoming second nature.
yeah,
And then when I'm working with the younger chefs that come in, some of them have unbelievable skills. And you're like, oh, I wish I could do that when I was 20. But it's like you see them trying to do a dish and you want to say, stop now. And they're just starting. Um, you
yeah.
know, but that's just ambition, you know. And there's nothing wrong with ambition, as long
Mhm.
as it's for the right reasons and it's managed. And really, it's sustainability and looking after the planet it's like looking after people. There's no difference. Like sustainability is everything. It's not just nature; it's everything. And looking after your team, mental health's huge
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
Um, but again, like I didn't know anything about mental health when I was starting out, but I didn't know anything about sustainability or anything. So the world has changed, like.
Yeah.
And we're a generation that is kind of, I suppose, starting to own things, you know.
Mhm.
Where generations before might say, "Oh, we don't talk about that," or you know.
Yeah,
Let that be the next generation's problem. Well, it is our problem.
it's true.
You
We
know?
can't do that anymore. It's ours to base.
Yeah, or it's just going to get worse for the next generation. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And then this question, I think you touched on as well, is what drives you to continue every forward?
Uh, so it's changed so much over the years, but at the moment, what drives me is my four kids.
Yeah,
And, coming home to my wife and my four kids and my new house that I bought last year,
same.
after many, many years trying to get a house in the Irish property crisis. Um, but we have it now, and it's time to be grateful for it because I worked hard for it, and to try and leave the planet in better nick for my kids, because
Yeah,
really that's what it's about, and when you're working and when you're in a really busy industry and it's all work, 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 eventually you got to stop and say, why am I doing this? Is it
yeah,
for
that's
me?
true.
Is it for, fame, glory, money? What's it all about? And really now I've come to the realization that, um, I just want, my kids to be happy and me to be happy and my wife to be happy. And that's pretty much it. That's not going to happen if the planet falls to pieces. Um, I'm
That's
not
true.
going to save the planet. But I'm going to do my bit.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good thing about working at Winnow as well. I really feel like obviously I'm making an impact
Yeah,
on the whole
yeah,
world, which kind of
yeah,
drives
yeah,
me every day,
yeah. And
which
you,
is
you you take that home as well. Like so now,
yeah,
it could be a different situation with the bins at home than there would have been pre-winnow at work. So it is
yeah,
impactful.
definitely. Thank you. And then the next question is what are your proudest achievements in reducing food waste? What are you most proud of in your journey so far?
I suppose I think the sheer volume really has impact. I've always been a fairly creative chef, so I could always come up with recipes for this and that and the other. Now that I've kind of directed it like this, it's nice to think that you're actually making a difference for more reasons than just cooking,
Yeah,
and just your job. And to me, like these recipes, we get quite a bit of coverage, but they're very, very simple recipes that you don't have to be really, one of the world's greatest chefs to create them. It's more about just using your head, and, I don't want the recipes to be a closely guarded secret that only I know and that kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
it's just about because what's the point of that, and it's just about trying to make a little bit of difference. At the end of the day, I'm a chef. My job is to produce good food.
yeah,
It's to stay grounded in what we're doing. I'm not working in a hospital trying to save lives every day, but I have a responsibility to my team, to my owners. I have a responsibility to do the right thing when it comes to food waste and stuff, like everybody has, So
yeah,
it's not about me, and it's about the team, and the team have just as much an impact on this as me,
yeah.
and because if they're not with you, it ain't going to work.
Definitely. Thank you for that. And I know you also talked about the fruit trimmings. That you did some
Yeah.
recipes with the fruit trimmings as well, right?
Yeah, well, we
Yeah.
have a good few, but the main one would be the fruit salad was the biggest problem because
Yeah.
the sheer bulk of the trimmings. So I think we had over nearly 500 kilos a year of that. So that's just, again, we just make a tonic with it.
Yeah.
Cinnamon sticks, ginger, turmeric, water, and we just boil it. So it's a flavored water, really. It's lovely,
Nice.
it's like a health drink. Because all the stuff, the good stuff that you're getting from the spices and stuff. Um, and we serve that as a welcome drink. We serve it up in our
Yeah.
leisure centre, and it has a place on the breakfast menu. So like it has lots of different things going
Amazing.
on. Yeah, so one, two, three things we're using. whew, I'd say almost 100 liters of that a week. Around the
Yeah.
hotel. And that would have been before
Right.
those things would have been bought, like there would have been an apple juice bought instead of that. So
Mhm.
it saves money in a few different ways as well. But it's not only about saving money, but like it's good that you can show an impact on that side of things as well
Mhm.
as on nature side of things, because of course by doing that, you're going to get more support from ownership and everything, you know?
Definitely. I think as well as a guest, I prefer to see a fruit tonic than like some apple
Yeah,
juice.
yeah, and it's
There's a lot more
different stuff.
interesting.
Like I've got the polytunnels outside the window, and the guests just go absolutely nuts when they see the chef bringing the vegetables in. Or like I just going out there. Usually, I'm going out there at like 5 minutes before service to get garnish and stuff, micro cresses and stuff like that. But they just love to see it, like that. The day of molecular cuisine and everybody's putting lots of chemicals in to reform food. It's had its day, um,
Um,
yeah, nature
Always
and
best.
natural food is what people want, and they want simple food, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, people are definitely like stripping back. Even menus, I think these days are getting more
Yeah,
stripped back.
yeah, yeah, and it's
People are
just gone.
fun with that.
Yeah, like our people just want to sit beside the fire and, have an oyster
Yeah,
and a pint of Guinness, they don't they don't want oysters 75 different ways, it's
exactly.
so
Simple as best.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And then what would you say the most important tip you'd give to chefs aiming to reduce food waste is?
Yeah,
Just just
open-mindedness,
one bit,
definitely.
open-minded.
Yeah, like, change,
I
it
feel like
doesn't
you're
ma
giving so much. I feel like you're giving so much advice. Like if you could just narrow it down one sentence.
just, to approach it. So if someone is coming in and saying, "Give Winnow a try," um, be open-minded, because I've been open-minded with Winnow and I've approached it well. Like, the environment has been helped, but also, like, from a financial viewpoint, my GP has massively been helped, you know? There's no waste, the recipes are streamlined, and it just makes sense, so now I don't have to go doing other jobs because I have, like, the treacle that I make goes off to various different sauces and to bread and stuff. The tonic I make, it's going to 3 places. So it's actually reducing the workload, So it's just that initial bit. It's the initial,
Yeah.
okay, let's do this kind of thing. It's no different like when Winnow comes in. It's no different than any system, any procurement system or you're changing to the cloud on the computer or something. There's always resistance to change because people are used to working in a certain way. Um, but
Definitely.
I feel that if you're open-minded, especially in the first week or two, then you're on board. Then
Yeah,
and then you can see that it actually does work for you.
definitely. I love that advice. Thank you. And then last question here, actually. Are there any books, podcasts, apps, or shows that you would recommend to chefs looking to grow and be inspired?
Well, I started following Wojciech a lot, and all the bits and pieces
Yeah.
he's doing. So he's on LinkedIn, and every time I open my phone, he's looking at me, which is uh, he's everywhere now. Um, and there's other chefs, like Doug McMaster, who owns the Silo restaurants and stuff. But there's a lot. There's a lot now out there. You're not going to struggle to find information on food waste and stuff in this day and age. Um, but really, um, yeah, I wouldn't like chefs to look at a recipe and spend all their time learning how to, I don't know, make cucumber pesto or cucumber ketchup or something, because that's only going to have a very tiny impact on,
Yeah.
so a more holistic kind of view on things, and just to have a look at the way they're working, and
Yeah.
can we make, there's fish skin there gone in the bin. Can we make crisps with that? Can we, at the very least, make a sauce with it? You know, uh, and
Mhm.
that'll stop you from having to buy other things.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I don't know what to say, open minded.
So so you do look a lot on like socials, like on LinkedIn, and is that where you see a lot of like chefs doing
Yeah,
these things or
yeah, like I'm not this. I wouldn't be one of these chefs who. Oh, I don't need to look at this recipe. I know everything. That's just not the case.
yeah.
No, we're always learning. We're always learning new things. Like I see stuff on Instagram. Oh, I'll try that. I'll try that.
Mhm.
That's in the old days. That was reading a cookbook.
Yeah,
And
what did
yeah,
people used to do?
yeah, and that was
Just I feel like our brains now are just flooded with information and
yeah.
recipe. content.
Yeah, and food is so versatile. You could do anything really, you know. Um, but it's just about uh I like to bring it back to a sense of place. Like, there's
Mm,
no point in me doing dishes from, the Mediterranean or the south of Japan or
yeah,
whatever. You know, we are where we are. Of course you can have influences, and try different things and pick up tips, and your food can have a kind of a global approach, but it really needs to be rooted in a sense of place, I think, Um,
yeah,
and for me, it's easy because we're on a small little island here in the west of Europe. You know, our fish is the best, our veg is the
yeah,
best because it never stops raining, and we've got really good food here, and it's about
amazing.
time the people of Ireland
Start using it.
realized and had confidence in it, and it's a confidence thing, like.
Yeah. I still need to go visit, to be honest. I've never been to Ireland,
I
and
don't
it's
know.
so
Yeah.
close.
Well,
Um,
bring your
I'd love
umbrella.
to visit. I'd love to visit your hotel. Actually,
Yeah.
I've looked at the pictures. Looks beautiful. The food
We'd love to have
sounds
you, yeah.
delicious.
I'd love to have you. I show you the gardens, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be
but
great.
like, it's an inspirational place to work. Like, so it's not just me. Like, there's so many different cogs. We've got people we've got sustainability committees, we've sustainability managers in our parent company, Red Carnation Hotels. Like,
Mm,
one of the major positions now, which there'd be a vice president position for sustainability.
yeah.
That's new since I came. So
Didn't see this before.
yeah, so it's been treated with respect, the topic, like, and the issue, and that's up there. So sustainability now is up there with finance, marketing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It's
same
got its
level.
own, yeah, its own branch, rightly so. But it's not just me. I happen to be the guy that's come up with a few recipes, but there's a whole team of which I'm only a part,
Yeah.
like in the bedrooms, the toiletries, everything has thought gone into it from a sustainability point.
Mm,
Um, so it's really good, but we want it to be better, and we're going to keep going and trying to improve things.
definitely.
But my mission this year is plate waste. How I'm going to
Great
crack it, I
words.
don't know.
You will. I'm definitely going to check back in a few months and see
Yeah,
see the
yeah,
results that have
yeah.
happened. But yes, that wraps up all the questions that I had for you, Jonathan. I don't know if you had any more for
No, happy enough. Great
me.
chat.
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, I love chatting with you. Every time I speak to you, I learn something new, and you always have great stories to share.
yeah, no, I love it. And it's all part of the sustainability journey that we're all on and
On
trying
together.
to bring other people on.
But the thing is, I also love doing these. Like, I love speaking to chefs because there's no point one person talking about it. Like, if I was the one talking about it, but it's like the collection, speaking to loads of chefs and having your voice out there with hundreds of other chefs is what makes the impact. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining today.
yeah, and I suppose we're at the coal face of it, So,
Yeah.
but like, in what other profession, in fairness, would you see people, say a carpenter who's working with wood and he wants this piece of the wood for making a chair? He's not going
Yeah.
to throw the piece that he cuts off in the bin, like, so. What
That's true.
Yeah, so it's just a mindset change, like, and it's got to do with the pace of life, and everybody's so busy.
It's true.
Yeah, but we just need to kind of say, hang on a second, this is valuable, this commodity that
Yeah.
we're throwing in the bin. We don't want it to be burnt in a big landfill situation and going up, creating a big layer of carbon over our heads, and that's ultimately what happens with the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's it.
very insightful. And I'm sure I'll be speaking to you again soon.
My pleasure, Anna.